Hey, Paula.
Hey, how are you?
I'm good. How about you?
I'm doing okay. I have a sick kiddo again today. So if you hear nursery rhymes, that's what we're doing.
Do you get to draw any cards today?
No.
Oh my dear God, you giant slacker. I mean,
I
you can do better.
know, right? No, I definitely can.
We're gonna give this $100 out to somebody.
And you want it to be me?
I want it to at least be somebody that has better than a 4 of clubs and a 5 of hearts, because that's what I handed out last Thursday.
No, I've just been working on a lot of like behind the scenes stuff, like setting things up, getting them back in order, getting back on track, staying in my time blocks as much as I can.
Yeah.
So it sucks not seeing anything right now, but I know that I'm doing the right thing.
Yep. I mean, I get it, but now's a great time to do those pop buys.
Yeah.
And script practice is an easy one to get cards for. Start calling me Andy for taking a shortcut everything.
Sorry for interrupting you.
No, you're not, no.
Taylor had to make an appearance.
Hey, Chuck.
Hey, how's it going?
Fantastic.
Good. Do we have anyone in the room yet?
Paula is on Zoom.
Right.
Nobody's live in the class yet. But typically, if Leroy comes, he's right at the last minute.
Right at that time. Okay. Let me grab some water.
It's kind of weird that the way he's got that set up where everything's blurred except for him, and then he walks away, so we see a blurry screen.
I know. I wish I could do that to my background, but it never turns out right. I don't know.
Well, I upgraded my laptop. Thus the reason I sent you that video link. Let me test something while we're waiting a couple minutes to see if someone shows up. For some reason, when I tried to play a video through Zoom last night, the others could not hear the audio, and that I don't understand unless there's a setting I haven't on this new laptop that I haven't given permission to or something. Let me test it here.
I know the beginning of that video is very, very quiet.
You're giving me permission?
Yep, I forgot about that. Let me do that right now. More.
Now I've got like a starburst in front of my face. That's weird. I'm foggy. Let me see if my camera has a fingerprint on it. Okay, let's try this and see. Changes, you know.
Repetition.
It just skipped to like the middle.
The sparring, the fighting itself,
You're just fine on this side.
slow anymore.
It is fine.
Yes, on this side.
Paula, could you hear that fine?
Yeah, I can hear it.
Okay. I don't know what was going on last night. I don't know if I have my earphones in, if that messes with it, but oh well. Okay.
I just texted with Savannah. She's on her way.
Okay.
It's now 10 o'clock on my side, so we might give her a couple minutes. Paula, you got any listings or anything like that where you can do an open house and get some cards?
No, listings are selling so fast. I sold all of mine.
Well, that's a good problem to have, isn't it?
I know. I just need to find more.
Yep.
That's right. Go find them.
Yep. So I'm gonna be bumming some listings off of other agents until I get more.
I think Kristen has a couple new listings. You might, I mean, it's a little late in the week, but you might hit her up and see if she's got anything available for this coming weekend.
Yeah.
This weekend would be the weekend to do it, because next weekend is Christmas, so that would be a bad idea. And then the weekend after that is New Year's, so this is gonna be your last open house weekend opportunity for December, I think. Unless you do it on a random Thursday.
Yeah, that January 2nd wouldn't be a bad day, possibly, depending on weather and all. So,
Yeah.
If it's 70 degrees like it has been, it might be a
Right.
good-
Right.
Exactly.
Winter's
Gosh,
gonna hit us one of these days.
no kidding. Probably, March, spring break.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
Every
I
time
wanted
we
to-
start playing golf, the temperature drops and the wind picks up, so.
yeah. I wanted to tell you both thank you for reaching out to Stephanie. I know that you guys reached out because I've been like participating and nobody else is consistently right now. But she reached out and told me, what a good job I was doing and she was proud and this and that and the other, you know what I mean? But I know nobody knew except me, but I had just visited family that bring up some really awful feelings. And that day was awful, awful, awful. And she just happened to reach out at the moment I asked the universe to do something.
Oh, wow.
And I can't even explain the feeling of it. So thank you both. I know nobody knew that I needed that, but I did.
Hey, we all need it. We all need it at different times. And, it can mean the world for someone just to say, hey, I noticed, or, hey, good job. So,
right. And it had nothing to do with like what was going on, but it definitely made a difference. And
awesome.
I think I took like 5 minutes after that to myself to like gather my thoughts of like how does the universe work like
Right.
this? And then I don't know, the day just felt good. Like it just kept moving through a flow and I got so much done that day.
Awesome. I love hearing that. Well, I know that, yeah, I ran down the list of those that I keep seeing on Tuesday night, Thursday morning, and then in this group. And I speak to Stephanie every Monday morning. And so that could have been where that came from, because I did tell her, how engaged you are and implementing pieces and really caring for your business. So
We
awesome.
talked about you on our Tuesday meeting as well, Paula. So we were all talking about you.
Well, thank you guys.
You're welcome. You're welcome. Well, let's get started. And I wanted to Paula, you just mentioned universe. Sometimes it's crazy how things just show up in front of us and, you know, like, hey, pay attention, listen over here, you know. And so I love motivational pieces on YouTube. And it's typically on weekday mornings, I'm typically turning on YouTube just as before I was able to have the blurred screen here on Zoom, I would do a screensaver on my television because it bugged me that there was just this black box on the wall, you know? So that's when I would do like the aquarium or something. But on the weekends, I'll turn on YouTube and I'll see what pops up in my feed. That's just a little bit of a motivational piece. And while I'm having my coffee or, you know, I don't know, looking at social media that morning or something, I'll click on something. And I love just nuggets that are, you know, 5 to 10 minutes long. I don't want to sit there 30 minutes. And I want a nugget. And so this past weekend, it was on Sunday morning, turn on YouTube, and this video was there. And then I like scrolled through and was looking around, and like it like shows up again, and I'm like, okay, something's telling me that maybe I need to pay attention here. And you know, I know so much of the time we get into a business headspace, and the messages we hear, the trainings we receive, the coaching we're a part of, all comes kind of from a business perspective. And so I clicked on this video. It's 8 minutes, and it's a monk. And I'm going to leave it at that because I want us to have discussion after. Now, there's a little bit of a language barrier, and he's very calm and monotone in his speaking. So it draws you in. And I'm just telling you that because like you're gonna have to intentionally listen. And there are 3 to 4 incredible nuggets in this 8 minutes. So I'm gonna share my screen, and when I saw this weekend, I was like, okay, how can I pass this message on? Who needs this? And I thought of this group, just of, you know, where we are in business and life and time management, et cetera. So here we go. And this first guy that you're seeing is just, he's introducing the video.
You want repetition. Repetition is really key to mastering or to be able to make any movement. Doesn't matter, dancing movement, fighting movement. What is important for all of this is the repetition. Because this repetition is going to be responsible that you or your body is going to build up what we nowadays know as the muscle memory. It is the repetition that builds up muscle memory. And now, when we are already talking about the memorizing of something, this is now where another art comes maybe into play, which you saw from the second master, Shifu Hongxuan, who was performing the Tai Chi Chuan practice outside. And all these slow movements, like I said, if you cannot do it slow, you will not be able to do it fast. And this is the approach that in another system now we are using to very, very slowly be aware of each single millimeter and program your muscles exactly in this way. So it's always about programming. We humans are a product of programming until you realize it. What is on our mind about good and bad, what we like to eat and don't like to eat. Very often, these things have been somehow implanted into us. The question is, do you know about them or not? Programmation is not the problem. Conditioning of the human, this is not the problem. The problem is the unconscious conditioning. Meaning, things that are taking influence on your life but you don't know about it. This is the problem. The unconscious things. Yeah? Because if it's about taking this lifetime into your hands, you need to know what is it that you're seeding. You need to know consciously what are you putting into yourself. And therefore, these type of practices is one way where very, very slowly you are taking your time and program yourself consciously. Yeah, consciously that it is not a coincidence how something flows and how and why something comes out like this. It is by conscious choice. It is the same way then when you compare now to the last training session, where you maybe have the sparring, the fighting itself. It has nothing to do with slow anymore. It has also nothing to do with soft anymore. There you have the fire. There you have the simple physical intensity, but which is also an important part of the daily life, because it's not about relaxing the whole day long. Even if you would have the capacity to not work, you don't have to work anymore. You can only spend time in going on holiday. Yeah, but how long do you want to lie on the beach until you get bored? Definitely, I would not be the person to do this. Yeah, so even if I would have this freedom, but no, it's unnatural. Because we humans, as long as we live, I think balance is key. Yes, relaxing is really nice. After you have done something, being soft, being gentle is really nice. After you have sometimes called up the fire and really exhaust yourself a little bit, meaning become physical. And especially when we're now in this field of Buddhist teachings, meditation, the power of the mind, the power of the thought. Yes, it's very nice things to talk about. But it is as much, it is also important that don't forget the physicality next to all of this philosophy. We need both. We need the strength, we need the protection, we need the health, we need the vitality, we need this physicality. We need to have it in order that we're able to deal with all of the soft things and the fine things. And this also means that especially for our monastery or for the Shaolin temples in general, this is why the practice of the martial arts is still such an important aspect. Why the Shaolin temple is different from other approaches. Because if you want to get to the finer levels, if you want to get to the non-physical levels, I think you need to deal with the physical. You want to know what is soft, you learn about the heart. You want to know what is freedom, deal with the restrictions. You want to know what is relaxation, contemplate a little bit about what is tension. So you want this? Yes, but you look at what is not obvious. You pay attention to the not obvious thing. Why? Because only this one and that one together gives you your ability to adjust. Only this one and this one together gives you the perspective. Now I know how I need to adjust. But if you want this and you only focus on this, you always think that here you need to make the adjustment. No, it's the constellation of both. Yeah, and this is why this word balance is always so important, and why now for us, the physical aspect, dealing with the body, strengthening the body, playing with the fire. Why? It is our balancing part for the times when you just sit and do nothing. When you are sitting, when you are peaceful, when you're opening. That's why in the word, for example, warrior monk, you have both. You have the warrior, then you have the monk. In the core, there is the warrior. The way how he behave, it's the monk. On an average daily life, he's peaceful. But only because he decides to be peaceful. But he is still able to tap into the other area. That is the difference.
All right. Lot there. What stood out to you?
You have to have a balance.
I was all over the place with my thoughts of where this was going. At first, I wrote down like some tidbits that I took from it. He talked at first like about repetition. And like programming yourself and the unconscious influence. And I think that for me personally, thinking about that and what he was saying, a lot of that has to do with the thoughts that I think about myself. You know, the negativity that I bring onto myself, that I say out loud, and people are like, oh, why would you say that? You know, like, don't say that about yourself. So for me, like, that stood out, like taking all of your thoughts captive first, instead of just blurting it out or thinking it about yourself, or even if you just think it about yourself, taking that captive. Okay, why am I thinking that? Instead of just unconsciously saying it or thinking it, like, why am I thinking that right now? What's the reason? What could have been done to not think this way? I don't know. Does that sound stupid? Am I totally off?
No, you're not, because you're reversing. Remember, it was a P word. You're reversing the programming.
Yeah, yes.
Because through our thoughts and our actions of voicing something or speaking something into existence. I mean, some people get weird when you say that, but like when we're speaking it into existence, we are programming our mind. Our mind is hanging on to that.
I always say that. I'm always like, don't speak that, don't talk that. Don't speak that into existence. Me and my family always say that. Don't talk that into existence. Like, we don't. But yeah, that's kind of what I took about it at first. And then at the end, he just, you know, he was talking about deciding to be peaceful, and it's all a mindset, and what influences you just have to, a lot of it is like living in the now. You have to really pay attention to what your outside influences are, how that really is affecting you. And I don't know, I might be way off. I was kind of all over the place with that, but I think that's what I took from it.
Okay.
You have to kind of live in the now and really take all your thoughts captive, and what people, I mean, working with a bunch of women, I used to work with a bunch of women, you really have to like, okay, this person is really upset, and what they say, I can't react to it. I need to really just like sit and think for a second, and then they may be feeling some way, you know, I really need to sit and think, okay, why are they feeling that way? There's obviously something that they're you know, I need to really think about that because they're feeling some way. I need to not react to that.
Mhm.
I need to figure out, I don't know. That's what I
And-
took. Really
Okay,
now, really paying attention to like the influences that are coming in and making sure that you're not just reacting and just going along with whatever. You're really thinking about what you,
right.
how you're
And
living.
yeah, being conscious, being aware, you know, and in that being present, that enables you, you know, to do that. And just to affirm, like kind of counteract something you spoke to, you said, I don't know if I'm way off. There are no rules here.
I know.
My question to you guys is, you know, what's your takeaway? So own that. I mean, there's no, I just wanted to present it and you take as it spoke, you know, to you and as you processed it. So thank you. Those were some good nuggets. Paula, I want to give you a chance to share before I jump in with any questions or probing.
Gosh, this is super heavy with what's happened recently that I was telling you about. Especially the way that, like, listening to it and I'm pulling things out, and then the way that she explained it was exactly how I was feeling, but I'm like, I don't even know how to express this.
Okay. And I don't
And
want to force anything that's
yeah,
uncomfortable. If you need to, you know, sit with it in your own way a little bit, I respect that. I'm not forcing you to share because I know it's a little more personal, or I gather it is. I don't know exactly what
yeah,
you're thinking of, but I gather that it's personal.
yeah. It just gives me quite a bit to think about, and knowing that that's kind of the direction I was mentally headed. I just feel like the universe is like still working, because I literally said, I don't know where I'm going. You're going to have to slap me in the face with it. Show
That's
me
what,
the path.
that's what you told the universe, right?
Yes. And then
Yes.
Stephanie called, and then we're talking about it today.
Yeah. So, so let's put our realtor hat on and our agent hat, and let's think through what was said, because there's definitely life pieces here. And it amazed me how it spoke to what we say in real estate a lot as well. And I'm like, oh my gosh, this same message showed up in a Monk's YouTube presentation that's applicable, you know, to business as well. And we talk about the repetition, you know, that, I mean, we learn through the repetition. I mean, if you think about when we speak about scripts, how, speak it, then internalize it, and then, customize it or personalize it to fit you. And it's the repetition that creates the muscle memory. And in this case, it's our brain is the muscle memory, but it creates our muscle memory so that it becomes natural language and it's not just some words on paper. Another thing personally where this stood out to me, I immediately went to a vision of like Karate Kid. I don't know. That was like a movie, I think in the 80s, 1980s or something. But it was they would do all their, their Taekwondo or their martial arts like in very slow form so that the muscle would remember it over and over and over again. And then another place that took me was I studied piano as a kiddo from like 8 years old through my freshman year of college. And my instructor that I had during my up through high school, she would say, your hands are memorizing it, your mind hasn't just yet. And that's that muscle memory. And so she would if I had a very like intense, fast-paced piece, because I leaned a little more toward modern composers. If I had this fast-paced, intense piece, she would make me slow it down to the slowest possible form to know that if I had mentally memorized it rather than the muscles of my hands and fingers memorizing it. So, you know, as a kid, I didn't understand that. And then you see things like this, and you're like, oh, she was wiser than I gave her credit for, you know. But in the real estate world, it does. It becomes it's like our scripting, our processes, all of that is you know, is muscle memory for
I
sure.
did write that down. I wrote down repetition. I couldn't remember why, but that's exactly what I thought about at the beginning was script training and then also time blocking and having systems. So that's exactly what I thought about. And I personally am at my best when I have my repetition throughout the day with anything. When my kids get up at 6:45 every day, if we get up at 7, it's not gonna be a good day. We're all rushing, okay? Everyone's rushing, everyone's like screaming at each other, where's the hairbrush? Okay, it's not a good day. 6:45, if everyone gets up at that time, it's a much better day. If I, you know, if I have my workout schedule, if my day is like planned and there's repetition and every day, and I'm time blocking and I'm doing that sort of stuff, it's a much smoother day and having that repetition. And that's huge. That's when I'm at my best.
Yes,
I mean,
100%. And as you mentioned too, the systems allow you to do that. Even if, because it doesn't require mental energy, it requires physical execution, yet your memory is freed up to be present. What'd you say?
I said you've programmed it, programmed your mind.
Right, right, definitely. And so in bold, this is a Keller Williams reference here. In bold, there you, I don't know if they still speak to this. I have a feeling they do. It's called PITFAR, and it's P, which stands for programming, leads to T, which are your thoughts, which leads to F, which are your feelings. Your feelings lead to A, which are your actions. And then through the actions, we have R, which are the results. So it's programming leads to your thoughts lead to your feelings lead to your actions, and your actions lead to your results. Those are even the hand movements we used to do, like in bold, I believe. And it's funny too, because I was speaking about this video to my partner Travis and one of our good friends, Lacey. At some point, let's see, I watched the video on Sunday. It had to be Monday-ish, somewhere early in the week, and I spoke of PITFAR. And Lacey used to be in corporate with Chesapeake on the tech side. And she goes, oh my gosh, she goes, that's a corporate term. And I go, what? And she said, oh my gosh, she said, you so could have fit into the corporate world. And I said, oh no, I couldn't. I would choose not to. I might could, and I choose not to. But she's like, everything you talk about, like in coaching, like we heard it in corporate, you know, so it's, you know, it's across all kind of industries here. But that PITFAR, so if you have, let's like dive into just like a piece of it so that it makes sense of how they're connected. If we have reoccurring thoughts, which can be that negative language or that judgment or that shaming, that personal shaming, it could even be, let's take this to real time. This could, and then let's take it out into the real world here. It could be discrimination. I mean, just think of how heated in the last couple of years. So when you have, and some of that was actions, right? That some of that wasn't just thought, some of that played out in actions. When you have that, how do you change it? It goes all the way back to the programming, right? And so are we all in agreement that to change programming takes conscious effort, right? That's something else he spoke to. Let me get to my notes here. Let's see. Yes, unconscious conditioning can be changed by conscious programming. So, how do you change your programming? Well, Paula, if I may, just what you shared as we were coming on the Zoom, just someone else pouring into you, like Stephanie reaching out and giving you that compliment, like shifted. That was the programming, even though it was a small nugget, that was the programming for that day. And it may even have gone on longer than that day, because when something's spoken to you, when affirming words are spoken to you, whether, and at times, that's why like practicing affirmations ourselves, it begins to reprogram our mind. We start like believing it, we start hearing it, it starts becoming unconscious belief. That's that programming. And so it takes conscious effort, or as we've said, being in the moment to receive what someone else is saying to us, that can build us up, as well, also. So that's the PITFAR. That's definitely, if you guys like go up to someone in the market center today, even if it's like Stephanie or someone that's been around a little bit, and saying, I learned about PITFAR today, they'll know exactly what you're talking about if they've been through BOLD. And then, what do we also say? And it's still in that PITFAR analogy. What do we say in coaching all the time? Keep doing the activities. Just focus on the activities, because we know when we focus on the activities, the results will happen. Now, we also talk about conversion rate of through the activities, how to get a higher level of results. So again, it cycles back to the programming and the mind of the scripts, of the familiarity of the processes, of the systems that build our confidence. And I think is it fair to say that confidence is a thought, right? I mean, a confidence is really I guess you could say a thought or a feeling. I think it begins with a thought of, do I know this? Do I don't? Okay, yeah, I do. Now I feel good about that. So I'm more confident to go do the action. You see how it's connected. So it's also, it's a formula. It's almost, it can be a method of self-coaching. And as coaches like Brian and myself, it can be a way that we can ask a question of, okay, in PITFAR, where are you? Where did this start? Well, we all know it starts with the programming, yet what created that programming? What's that programming a result of? And, sometimes it's just us telling ourselves a story, and then we begin to believe it. So it's just as easy to tell ourselves an affirming positive story, which is an affirmation, so that we start believing it. I used to, when I first started affirmations many years ago, I say many years ago, I mean, I haven't been doing them for a lifetime, and true transparency here. I would say I probably met Stephanie, your team leader, in 2016-ish. Yeah, that's when I stepped into the PC role. So it had to have been late 2016 or early 2017 in a BOLD course that Stephanie and I were affirmation partners. So every morning we would reach out, and we'd have it was supposed to be 5 minutes, and it would turn into 15, go here, maybe 30 sometimes. But we would have our affirmations in the morning, and we'd go on with our day. Well, it went beyond BOLD. We kept doing it because we just connected, and we liked doing that. One of my first affirmations I wrote myself gosh, I'm putting myself on the spot here, that it would totally flip my mind when I felt extra pressure or I felt stressed or I just felt my to-do list was too long. And I would say, now I'm going to struggle through this. Let me speak it slowly so I get it right. I would say I'm in demand. It's a different way of looking at it, right? That's a different perspective. I'm in demand and I have the time, the competence, and the resources to handle whatever comes my way. Gosh, I did it. I am in demand and I have the time, the competence, and the resources to handle whatever comes my way today. And that would take, I know, if I said that 3 to 5 times pretty fast in that little bit of a stressed, pressured moment, it was just magical how it shifted, my thinking into, I've got this. Second, there's always time, and prioritize those things that are most important first. So there's always time to get it done with focus, and I've got my resources to fall back on. So what can I leverage, or who can I go to ask for a hand, or who can I refer this title question to at a title company, to help me out and get it out of my mind. So a little bit on the affirmations there. Anything before we go, anything around PITFAR? Awareness, something you might implement? Did I change your way of thinking at all, or open your eyes to anything?
I think the part I'm missing is the first one, the programming. Because
Okay.
I know that like the repetition that you talked about, especially when you said like your hand knows it, but your mind doesn't yet, or however you said that. Completely wrong, but I got what you said. I know activities, but if I'm not taking the right steps, they're not getting repeated because they're just getting interrupted.
Okay, say that. Let me speak back what you said last there. Say that again about the activities. I'm sorry, you can say it better than I did, or I can.
So, well, like with the activities, when you first talked about repetition, I was thinking, okay, you're repeating the activities over and over. I completely skipped over the affirmations and the script practice. You know what I mean? Like the first steps. So if you skip step 1, maybe that's why step 2 is not feeling so confident.
Ah, right there. See, you used feeling, and remember, feeling is one of them.
Yeah.
It's programming, thoughts, feelings. So, and that's where I said, like, confidence to me begins as a thought, and then it also crosses over into a feeling. I mean, I haven't been told that or taught that. That's just my realization in my head. Yeah. So Paula, you're right. We got to come back here to the programming and the thoughts. And if you think the last one, because it's a circle, see it kind of as a circle. If you think of the last one, the results, have your results of closings and client interactions and converting, or a success from, door knocking or pop buys. Like when there's a positive result, does that begin to change your programming?
Yeah, I think so. I think it's just going to be a matter of like starting out and going through the motions, because I'm like skipping the steps in between, and the end feels awesome, but like getting back to it, like I always feel at the end when I close one, I'm like, that was so awesome. I need to find another, not like another paycheck, but I need to find another client because I want to do this again. It felt great.
Right. And you will get there. You will get there. Like for the 2 of you, well, I guess I should say 3 of you. Sorry, Brian. I'm focused on the right. Hey, I'm over here in the red shirt. It looks red on Zoom anyway. I guess it's red. Uh, just for you two to have the takeaway, you three, I'm sorry, I did it again, Brian. Just for you three to have the takeaways you've had today is a huge first step. Because all I really wanted to do is like break this down so that if there is that hesitation, if there is that self-doubt, if there is that lack of confidence, whatever label you want to put on it, and it can show up in many different ways, like stop and think, what just caused this? The majority of the time, it's ourselves just caused that hesitation or that doubt. Now, could I be out and about and or in the middle of a transaction and a client say something off the cuff that really spirals me and sends me into self-doubt? Of course. You know, could just guys, I was speaking this last night to my partner Travis. I said, I feel like my mind right now is like all over the place. And there have been just a lot of life events. And then I had a week of not feeling well, and we have holidays, and yes, there's just stuff going on. And so I have a transaction, and most of you know, like, I'm not out there generating business. Like it's close friends or family. And so I have a referral right now, and the transaction has been so incredibly smooth, knock on wood. Even as an as-is transaction, like it has been so incredibly smooth, and I dropped the ball because I think it was going so smoothly. It was kind of out of sight, out of mind. I realized at the end of the week, last Friday, hadn't received the well water results, and we're supposed to close the 23rd. So I hadn't received the well water results, and so I left a voicemail with the inspection company. And then anyway, I ended up calling them Monday morning, first thing. And she goes, oh, it looks like we sent it to the wrong email address. And I'm like, that's okay, I got it. Well, there's raised chloroform in the well water, which requires a bleach treatment. And the process for the treatment is you treat it and you wait 7 days and you do another water test. And you have to take that water test to the water board, and it may take a couple of days for the results. And so I start adding up the days, and I'm like, oh my gosh, I've blown closing. And I'm like, what the heck? And so that then went to my thoughts, you know, something else like that, you know, an action there like sent my thoughts spiraling. Okay, so the end of the story, just so you guys know, I went into problem solve mode. And I'm like, I cannot believe I'm doing this. So I went into problem solve mode. So I called the lender first, and I just said, hey, on this loan, because it's conventional, not FHA, is a clear water test result required? And she said, actually, let me get back to you on that. So she texted back in about an hour and said it's not required. So I'm like, whew, okay, so I'm not delaying closing. Yeah, we still have to get it treated. And we went through that process, and I owned that I didn't even get the results prior to sending the TRR that said everything to be as is, you know, like parties I could have really caused an issue here. So it happens to all of us. And my point to that story also is just sometimes there's an occurrence in the day that creates that thought and that self-doubt. It doesn't always start in our own minds. Sometimes there's something, you know, or a situation, you know, Paula, like you spoke to, that's a little more on a personal relationship, family type piece, when you're forced to be around those triggers, that definitely is an outside, you know, type influence as well. All right, so then we get into him saying balance is the key, and relaxing is nice, yes, after you have done something. It's like you have to have been over here. He spoke of the fire, but he even labeled like fighting or martial arts or activity, physical piece, or just mental activity. you have to have been busy to appreciate the quietness and the peacefulness. And you have to have experienced this quietness and peacefulness to understand what this over here really is, as well. And where my head went with that is in track week 2, when we speak about time management. And in that week, we speak about the 6 human needs, personal needs, human needs, and making sure that there are activities in your schedule for you to get fulfillment or to satisfy, those needs. And then, or your top 2 needs. And then we also talk about, if you think of the process, Jake, I believe it was Jake's video, how he went through that. First step in scheduling is always you, family, friends, home, that piece. That's your schedule first when mapping out your schedule. Then you layer in the business. And then, even from there, you're layering in 2 blank spaces each day, so that you already have appointment times, blocks, open space there on your schedule, that when someone calls on a whim, I still do like the old telephone. When someone calls on a whim, you've already got space there in your schedule. Something funny on that. I don't remember where it was. Someone spoke recently. They're like a pre-K teacher or preschool or something. And they said, they went like this with the phone. No, with a kiddo, they said, hey, let's pretend we're calling your mom or something. And they went
like this. Yes, like this or like this. And I'm like, it's like this.
Right.
It's
Programming.
So funny.
Programming.
Listen, my kids called me from school. My oldest, she's 10, and she called me from school. The principal had her call me, and the principal was like, she did really good today, whatever. And she called, she goes, Mom, there's a cord connected to this phone. And I'm like, oh my
She's never seen a
God.
landline
Never. I'm like, oh my God. She was shocked.
Really blow her
This is the
mind.
craziest
Get a
thing.
rotary phone and ask her to call
Oh my God, I'm
someone.
telling you, it's the craziest thing. I'm like, you guys are so.
Well, that's
No
like
idea.
programming and muscle. That's programming and muscle memory, right there.
It's crazy.
So anyway, where was I going with that? I'm sorry. What were we last on?
I'm sorry.
Balance in our schedule, right? Balance in our schedule. And so if you think about that, through time management training, it is creating that balance. We speak to work-life balance all the time, and making sure that you're not missed within your schedule as well. And then that last piece was, and I'm going to go back and make some extra notes here, but he said, mind work takes physicality. Now this isn't making sense the way I wrote it. I put mind work takes physicality to create balance. I think what he meant there, if I remember right, was like around intentionality. The relaxation, so that you understand tension, the balance of soft versus hard, and that kind of balance there as well. So I don't know. I thought this was fun. I feel that when we can hear a message in a context that is so unexpected, and it's applicable over here as well, you're just like, that's when, okay, there's some, universal truth and concepts here that apply in so many different ways of life, in itself, whether it's a religious context or spiritual, whether that translates into the martial arts and athleticism and discipline, and that translate, it also applies over here in business and applies at home. I mean, all of that. So there's just life truths there, right? All right, any questions, any comments? We've got 10 minutes-ish here before I have to log on to a locker room Zoom.
I'm gonna try to jump onto that as well.
Okay.
That locker room Zoom, I just, I'm gonna have to find the website on my laptop, so.
Just
I'm gonna be there, I may be a minute or two late.
okay.
That's all I'm saying.
It's just tlrzoom.com. And what we're going to be speaking to today for leadership is the new tech improvements. And then you guys as agents, what you will very soon see, if you have not logged into the university this week, as of last Friday, it took on a not a complete different look. It's enough to go, you'll notice. It's a black background, and you have a menu bar on the left side now that's categorized by topic. So if you click on a topic, it will shuffle the modules to meet, you know, that topic. And then there is a toolkit piece there in that menu bar as well. And that will be the next piece to go live, that your toolkit that has lived over in the core dashboard, all of core is going away, and you'll just be logging directly into the university. And we'll keep you posted as this transpires for you guys. And then your toolkit will be there on that menu bar, on the left menu bar. But some cool things happening on the leadership side, where they can customize some reports and have some extra tools and pieces that they have not had previously at their fingertips. And they had to always go through, the headquarters team. So definitely some good improvements there. And Brian, if you don't get logged in, just let me know. And I'm sure this is going to be recorded today, and I can get that link sent out. Just sometimes in the moment, being able to ask questions and hear it is a little more effective. Anything else, guys?
I have a little comment.
Sure.
I really like this class today, but I will say I have worked in the corporate world before. I was a manager at Target, and I was the team leader of a store. And I will say that every job that I've ever worked before always the number one thing is always, always go back to the basics. And I think that that's kind of what today the whole class was about, is really just going back to the programming, going back to the basics. Because if you're not, if at Target, if something is coming off the truck and you're not doing the very first step, then it gets lost, and you're not doing the first step, where then it messes up, it gets lost, you're not having it in inventory, you're losing money, so same thing, you're not doing your script training, you're not setting yourself up for success. So another thing that you said, that you were just randomly watching YouTube. I was randomly on Instagram last night, and randomly came by this sponsored Instagram account of someone I don't even know, but it said, and I screenshotted it, it said, I can't go home and look at my family in the eyes and tell them I can't provide them the best life and future as I possibly can, because I get a slight bit uncomfortable when I do the thing that I know will make me the most successful. No matter where your leads come from, you have to call them before anything is going to happen. You really want to succeed, sit in a room and make calls nonstop until you are selling more real estate than any other agent you know. How long might that take? Who cares? Time goes on regardless. Take advantage of the amazing technology right in front of you to make as many great first impressions as possible, so that you can provide the very best life for you and your family. So last night I read that, I screenshotted it, and I was like, you know what, who cares? So I made some phone calls and got an appointment next week, and a listing appointment, and followed up with some emails, and made some phone calls, and got a listing appointment next week. So I mean, it's just like so simple, and it's just like doing it and having the courage, and it's going back to the basics. Anyways, it's a great class, so thank you.
Hey, you're
Just
welcome.
gonna toot my own horn for a minute.
I love it. And you know, when you think about reaching out right now to relationships or those that you know, there's so many messages right now, or themes or reasons for your call. I mean, you know, happy holidays, of course. Happy New Year, another. You know, hey, as we're going into this new year, you know, do any of your goals involve anything to do with real estate? You know, maybe it's, hey, it's been such an active market. Are you aware of the equity you have in your home? Would you like me, you know, to get back with you on that? Another could be, if you know they've made a move this year, whether that was with you or someone else, you know, maybe that memory jogger of, did you file for homestead exemption? If they're in Oklahoma, not every state has homestead exemption. But, you know, have you filed that document with the county assessor's office for homestead exemption? Right now, people have just paid property taxes, whether that came out of an escrow account or they're paying it directly themselves. You know, do you feel the value that the county treasurer is basing your property taxes on? Do you feel that's the value of your home? Sometimes, you know, those city entities do not value homes like we do. A lot of times they take a larger geographic area, and sometimes you can be like a smaller home on the border of these really pricey homes, and their technology system bumps your price up, which bumps your taxes up when it's not in alignment. And all a homeowner or a property owner needs from us are comps, and maybe explaining those comps within a brief paragraph type letter, and they can take that and basically dispute their case to the county treasurer and county assessor. So there's lots of value we can bring right now, this time of year, with you know, multiple different messages. So I don't know, just thought there, just
Yeah,
different
and
pieces.
their tax records are super weird. Like my mother-in-law paid off her house, it was like a rent to own situation. And the county had taken her house, which was like 1,100 square foot, and added, there's like a mobile home sitting on the acreage right next to it, which she owns both acreage, but the mobile home is completely destroyed. It just needs to be pulled out. They added both of the square footage together and determined, oh, your property value is way up here because you have so much square footage. And she couldn't figure out what was going on. And it was something simple, that just reaching out saying, like, you know, that exact message of, well, your property taxes are coming due. Does everything seem right? Do you need help?
Yeah.
And so that's a great message, because they don't know. They're like, well, I guess I just owe it. I don't know.
Now, you know, on the flip side, if the assessor and treasurer have the home priced under market value, no one wants to pay more taxes, right? So,
Right.
and I think that's a great message or information for them to have, that you're actually paying less than, you know, what you could be. Now, with that being said, it'll eventually, you know, increase. I mean, as sales activity does. All right, guys. Well, let's see. We are meeting next week. We do have this scheduled for next Wednesday. And just looking ahead, we will not be meeting the 29th. We will not meet on that Wednesday. And
Right.
then
We're not having any training the week
Okay.
between Christmas and New Year's.
Okay. And then we'll be back on the 5th. So awesome. Well, have a great week. I will see you guys all next week, and I'll wish you Merry Christmas then.
Thanks.
Thank you.
All right.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.